Happy International Women's Day. My first 7 cowrie shell review of 2020 is about the Good Luck Girls, which is such a story of the empowerment and the strength of young black women. So yes, there will be some gushing. Hey everyone, it's Jerry back here on ONYX Pages. Thank you very much to the new subscribers to this channel, and if you are somebody who has been enjoying these videos for some time, I appreciate you. So it is International Women's Day, and I just want to send a shout out and congratulations and a big hug and an I love y'all to all of the women identified content creators here on this platform. We are doing some really foundational and fabulous stuff. I think that women identified folks are the lifeblood of booktube, and that is an important thing to acknowledge even as we try to find more gender and sex diversity on our platform. So I hope that you're enjoying a wonderful day. I hope that you have an opportunity to celebrate the strength and the ingenuity and creativity and the resilience and the beauty and the smarts and the courage and the bravery of women identified folks in your life and in history and in your ancestry, because certainly that's something that I have been doing today. And a special shout out for trans women, because I think that these celebrations of womanhood can sometimes be very, very focused on cisgender women, and as a cisgender woman myself, that is something that I am trying to do work on. So happy International Women's Day. Okay, so I have notes, but I just want to start off with just telling you a little bit about Good Luck Girls. So I received an ARC from Raincoast Books for Good Luck Girls. They have been really wonderful. This is the ARC that I received last year, and I'm trying to get better with my ARC etiquette, because sometimes it takes me a lot longer to read the books than it should. So I'm gonna work on that. That's a 2020 goal. But they did provide me with an ARC of the Good Luck Girls, and I first found out about the Good Luck Girls because I saw this fly cover of a girl with natural hair, black girl, natural hair, and what I think is a leather jacket. So I'm doing a thing. And I thought, you know, this is pretty cool. What is this about, you know? And I didn't really get to it until I heard other people talking about it, until I really sat down and thought, you know what? I really do want to hear a story about young black girls, because they're not all black in this story, getting themselves free. And this is what this story is about. It's about girls getting free. And I just loved it. So I'll start off and give you a sense of the plot, and then I'll get into the 7 cowrie shells. So basically, I would describe the Good Luck Girls as an Afro-retrofuturist story. And retrofuturism is I guess it's a strategy, or I don't know if it would be considered a genre, but it's when a story is set in the past, but it takes futuristic elements and puts those elements in the past. So that's what retrofuturist is. And then Afro-retrofuturist is when a time period that is not historically depicted as being peopled and populated by black folks ends up being so. So this story, it feels like it takes place in the time that Westerns were filmed, so the late 19th century in the US. But the land is populated with a number of different groups of people, including black folks. So if you've read Dread Nation, it kind of feels like a similar time period, but I'm not exactly sure, because I don't actually think that the time period is set out and described in the actual story. So so this is a story of a group of girls who live in a welcome house. They've been sold to a welcome house where they are required to provide sexual services to men called brags who travel through these welcome houses. So there are a number of different trigger warnings for sexual violence, for human trafficking, for racism, for sexism, and all different forms of violence. I wouldn't necessarily call this a gritty story where violence is concerned, but I do think that it's something you need to be prepared for if you want to get into the story. And they escape the Welcome House and they're on the run. And during the story, we see them try to get from point A to point B, A being the Welcome House, B being freedom. And we follow them as they discover their strengths, as they use their strengths, as they work together, as they, you know, they get into different setbacks along the way and triumphs. And then we see them at the end, right? Whether they get there where they need to go or whether they don't. And that's, I mean, it's a fairly simple premise, I think, you know, a group of people escaping something bad, but it's so much more than that. And I'm going to get into that now as I go through the 7 cowrie shells. So if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the 7 cowrie shell rating system, I forgive you because I haven't used it recently. So you can just pause here and check the cards above and you can take a look at what I'm talking about. I do have a video where I talk about the revamped cowrie shell rating system and why I read books and all of that stuff. And that might help you understand what I'm going to do now, which is to talk about the first cowrie, which is world building. So I gave you a bit of a sense of the timing of the story. This society is a very unequal one. So what we learn in the first chapter or 2 is, and there will be spoilers, so settle yourselves. You might want to come back. If you're going to read the book, you might want to come back and watch this video after you've read it. So we know that there was an old empire. So we're in, I think, the country, continent, a place called Arquetta. And there was an uprising of an old empire, and all of the people who rose up against the empire and lost were either taken prisoner or were all marked in some way. Their shadows were stripped from them and they became what is called dust bloods. Dust bloods are the underclass. The people with shadows are called fair bloods, and they are the ones that have privilege and advantage in the society. So dust bloods do, their families are poor, they're often working or indentured, trying to get out of this debt because they rose up against the empire. One of the ways that dust blood families try to get out of debt is by selling their daughters to welcome houses where their daughters work there, and then the hope is that the daughters work off their debt, or the families, and the families indentured work, and the daughters who are working in these welcome houses together can pay off their families' debts. But usually that never happens, and it is just a way to traffic these girls. Now the girls themselves in the welcome houses, they are part of a really complex hierarchy within the houses. They are stratified by race and class, and before they're 16 years old, they work cleaning up the rooms and cooking and doing all that kind of stuff. But then at their 16th birthday, they have their lucky night, which is the first night that they are with one of the patrons of the welcome house. They are called brags. And then they become sundown girls. So they move from working in the attic and cleaning and folding sheets to being the girls who try to get patrons in the saloon spaces of the welcome houses at night. We get a sense of this world, but we don't really see a lot of the sexual violence. It is mostly implied, but there are a couple of really difficult scenes that you should just be aware of. The good luck girls are marked physically. They've got a magical tattoo on their necks. Each girl has a unique tattoo, and it's a flower, at least in the house that we are introduced to, that is headed by a woman named Madame Fleur. All of the good luck girls have these tattoos. They're called favors, and the girls don't get to keep their birth names. They're renamed when they go into the welcome house. And so the girls that we follow in this story are all named after different flowers. The tattoos are magical because they they effectively control the girls' whereabouts, and they make them very hard they make it very hard for those girls to run away. When the girls try to hide their favor by putting like what they call a dust kerchief or something over it, the favor starts to get brighter and glow, and then it starts to burn, and then it starts to shut down their internal organs. So they are basically branded by these beautiful marks on their necks, and they are controlled as a result of that. So what happens here in the beginning of the story right away is one of the good luck girls named Clem, on her lucky night, is she kills the brag that purchased her. And of course she freaks out. Her sister, who's also a little bit older, at the same welcome house, her sister's name is Aster, sees what happens, and they decide on the spot that Clem and Aster and a number of the other girls, Violet, Tansy, and Mallow, are gonna run away, because if it's found out that this brag was killed by a good luck girl, then that good luck girl would not survive. So they're like, do we stay and maybe not see another day of our lives, or do we leave? And so they devise this plan and they leave. They escape the welcome house and they just go on the road. They steal some horses and they are gone. If you are a horsey person, you might love this book because there's a lot of horse activity. So they jump on these horses and they go through the forest, and they're trying to escape a place called the Scab, which is a mountainous region in Arquetta, and in order to do that they have to ride through the forest. And the forest is full of not only animals but also ghosts, because in this world we've got different kinds of ghostly characters. One kind is called a remnant, which is the leftover like spiritual essence of somebody who hasn't passed over yet, and then vengeance, which are the ghostly manifestations of anger and fear. And they are all over the place, but they're in the forest, and they take on corporal form, and they can actually like damage and kill people. So they've got all of these threats in the forest that they have to survive in order to get from point A to point B. And where is point B, you might be asking? It's a very good question. Point B is a woman named Lady Ghost, because one of the girls named Violet tells the others that there is somebody who can help them remove their favors, and her name is Lady Ghost, and she lives in this far off town. And so they're trying to get to the town and to raise enough money to pay Lady Ghost to remove their favors. And so that's what their goal is. That's all I got to say about that. In terms of the world building, it's really clear that this world does give us an opportunity to look at social stratification. It looks at gender oppression, racial oppression, class oppression, and I think that there are enough opportunities throughout this story to ask yourself questions about right and wrong, about when somebody should rise up against a political force, what the risks are. So really there's a really great opportunity in the world that was created by Charlotte Nicole Davis to get us thinking about those issues, which, as you know, I think are important issues in YA fiction at this particular time. So I gave a half cowrie shell for world building, despite everything that I've said. And the only reason is because I actually wanted to hear more about the oppressors. We know that there's somebody running for governor, but we don't know much more about like the old empire, the old ways, how they came to be, what the actual revolution looked like. We're sort of in the aftermath of that. So that's something I would have liked to see more developed, but I really did appreciate the world. In terms of characters, I gave a half cowrie shell for that. I've explained some things about the characters already. We follow the group of girls and a young man that they find along the way who's a ranger. His name is Z. And so we learn the most about Clem, Aster, Violet, and Z. So I've talked about Clem and Aster. They're the sisters from the Welcome House. But Z, while I don't want to spoil too much about him, but we find out how he became a ranger. He's somebody who knows the forest really well, knows the towns, and can survive in the woods. And he ends up following them and then helping them escape. He also introduces them to a community that lives in the mines that's a community of resistors, which is a whole other really interesting plot twist. And then we also follow Violet. Violet is one of the Welcome Girls, but unlike many of the Welcome Girls, her mother was a Welcome Girl and she was born in the Welcome House. And she's a little bit different because she is a fair blood. She has a shadow because both of her parents were fair bloods. So she walks with a lot of privilege, and I think she is white. I think the other girls are black. And she uses that privilege to help the group of girls that she's escaped with try to get to Lady Ghost. So some really interesting questions that come up with those characters is, you know, as far as Z is concerned, what's an ally? Do we trust our allies? What is their role? How do we assess whether or not they're actually being true allies? And Violet raises some interesting questions about difference and trusting people across difference. Even if their experience of oppression is different from yours, can you still work towards the same goal? So those came up, and there's some really interesting relationships between the characters. There is queer content. There's a female-female romance between two of the girls, Tansy and Mallow. It doesn't get as developed as I would like to see, but they definitely have some romantic moments, and they care for each other really deeply, and they survive, which I think, you know, when you have queer characters, when they die off, it's really problematic. But this young couple, these two girls who are in love with each other, they survive, and that's really nice. So full Cowrie shelf for that. There also is a character that might be neurodivergent. We don't see very much about him, very much of him, but he might be, and I thought that was great, but I would have liked to see that developed a little bit more. So full Cowrie shelf for characters. In terms of point of view, the main point of view is the point of view of the Good Luck Girls. They are the most oppressed group that we see in this world, and the story is told from their perspective, primarily from the perspective of Aster. And I think that was really great. Aster actually reminds me of Harriet Tubman. Aster is strong and powerful and strategic. She's able to strategize ways to get out of the different, you know, conflicts that they find themselves in, even against really seemingly insurmountable odds. And I really enjoyed Aster as a character because her creativity and her bravery and her frailty, like, really made her sympathetic and somebody that I could certainly identify with. So I like that the story was told from her perspective for the most part. In terms of relevance, I think that the questions, can we get free? Should we risk freedom? What if we die on the way? Is it still worth it? Should we give up? Should we work together? Should we separate or go on our own? Are we stronger on our own in a smaller group, or are we stronger together? Do we drop the weakest link? Like, those kinds of questions that come up in any kind of movement are important, and they resonate for me, and they definitely took their place in the story. So I gave a full Cowrie shelf for relevance because as a Black queer woman reader, those are questions that are important to me, and they were really well developed throughout the plot. In terms of options, here's where I think about, you know, given the relevant story, given the conflict that is interwoven into the plot, does the author give the characters interesting options, and how do I feel about those options? So in any story, when you've got a group of people who are running away, there's always the option to stop and to go back or to give up. And I think that mostly that was sort of the overriding option, but there was a really interesting set of options toward the end because, and this is a spoiler, so do what you gotta do, but toward the end they actually do find Lady Ghost, and the girls have to decide if they're going to escape Arquetta. and go to another place where there are no welcome houses and there are no good luck girls and they can start over free? Or do they stay and continue to fight because there are more welcome houses and more good luck girls and the Dust Bloods are still being oppressed? And I think that is a better set of options to consider, and we only get that in the last couple of chapters because those options aren't really available to the group until they get to Lady Ghost. So half a cowrie shell for that, because I would have liked to see that explored a little bit more, which is my way of saying that I want there to be a sequel, because I'm totally down for that and I want to know what happens to the rest of the girls. In terms of the otherworldly elements, I've talked about the ghosts, so the remnant and the vengeance. There's also I think they're humans, but I'm not sure that they are. So they're called Raveners, and Raveners are these beings that I think they are otherworldly. They have the ability to inflict pain through the mind, so they can make your mind feel like you're burning inside, or that you've been shot or stabbed, or that you can't breathe, or you're drowning or whatever. Or they can like make you feel so depressed that, or hopeless, that you don't even move. So that's how those are their weapons. They use the mind. And Raveners are used as basically like security, mental and psychic security guards at the welcome houses, and they prevent the good luck girls from escaping. So the good luck girls are always afraid of running into these Raveners, and they patrol the towns to try and get these girls back when they find out that they've left. I gave half a cowrie shell for otherworldly elements. Now I think that the characters were really interesting, and the you know, and the magic system ish was interesting, but I wanted to understand more. So for example, there's a mineral called thiamite, and thiamite wards off Raveners, but we don't, not Raveners, remnants, no, vengeance, the bad ghosts, but we don't know exactly how. And then there's a plant that does that. We're not exactly sure how. And we don't really find out enough, at least for me. I'm really interested in ghosts and stuff, and we don't really get to hear much about the ghosts, except that you have to run away from them. They're always howling everywhere. And the Raveners, like, what are they? Where do they come from? What sustains them? You know, how are they organized? Like that kind of stuff I would have liked to know more about. So half a cowrie shell for otherworldly elements. And last cowrie is about the overall reading experience. So I loved this. I loved this story. It was a hybrid read for me, so I read the words on the page, and I also read by listening to the audiobook. And I have to say, oh, I was gonna write down her name because I need to give her props. So if you can, and you're an Audible person, listen to the story over Audible. The narrator was amazing. I think it was only one narrator, but some narrators are so good that after a while it seems like every character is a different person. Like what they can do with the tone and timbre and cadence of their voice really, you know, it distinguishes one character from another. And if it's the same person, like the way that she rendered the voices of the men, like the governor and the men who were following them, or the remnants, like, oh, it was just creepy. It was really creepy. Like it was so, her voice became so gravelly and like southern and like hey there lady, like that kind of like weirdness. So it was creepy to have that in my earbuds. So so good on her, because I got the atmosphere, and I got the fear. You know, she was able to convey the fear of these girls so well that I found myself wanting to get another moment on the streetcar, or while I'm showering or whatever, to listen to the story. So it was such a pleasurable experience to have that audio in my head as well. So altogether, 5.5 cowrie shells for the Good Luck Girls. It was definitely a wonderful reading experience. I'm so glad that it was my International Women's Day read. And I have also been slightly obsessed with the song Stand Up as performed by Cynthia Erivo, and that's one of the main songs from the movie Harriet. And Harriet Tubman, if you don't know who she is, I'm legit judging you over YouTube, so accept that. But Harriet Tubman is a very strong black African American ancestor, and I'm reminded of her, and I really appreciate that Charlotte Nicole Davis really brought this Harriet Tubman type character to the Good Luck Girls, to Aster. Yeah. There is two things I want to say before I go, because this is 26 minutes and that's a lot of your Sunday, isn't it? Okay. Well worth it, though. Well worth it. Thanks, Tommy. So the 5 girls, as I said, that have run off and escaped are Aster, Violet, Tansy, Mallow, and Clementine. And in the ARC edition, you see that each of the girls is associated with a characteristic or a role. So Aster is the protector, Violet is the favorite, Tansy is the medic, Mallow is the fighter, Clementine is the catalyst. And what I really love about that is that each of the girls actually does have a bunch of different skills. So one of them learned healing arts and learned about herbs from her mother. Another one's a really great fighter. Another one is a great strategist. Another one knows how to use beauty and sexual prowess to control men. Like, all of them have amazing skills that all together really helped them survive. So that's like one thing that I wanted to say. And then the other is the flowers. I don't know very much about flowers, but I know that floral essences are used by some health practitioners. And I was wondering if there was some sort of correlation between the flowers and the girls and their characters. So I haven't looked into this, but if you know anything about floral essences and like floral waters and stuff from a spiritual perspective, I would be interested if you know anything about Asters, Violets, Tansies, Mallows, and Clementines, because that might be another way to appreciate the character development that was done in this book. All right. 27 minutes. Thank you very much for watching. If you have watched this video all the way to the end, you have my love and appreciation, and I would love it if you could leave a floral emoticon downstairs, because I want to see all the beautiful flowers and bouquets and all of that. Or you could do like a flower and a fist for, like, you know, strong black women. Have you read The Good Luck Girls? What do you think? I think I'm gonna be I think that Brittany from Melanin Eclectic, who also read it, so you should also check her channel and watch her review of the book. I think we're going to have a discussion. So if you've read it and you want to be a part of our discussion, we'll probably do a live chat of it. Then let us know in the comment section of my video or the comment section of her video, and then we'll make something work for later on in the spring. Happy International Women's Day. Please subscribe to ONYX pages, leave a comment, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content, and ring the notification bell if you want to hear more. Have a wonderful Sunday, and read with purpose. Bye.
Bye.
That was Tommy. You'll meet her one day.